Here, take this.
What is it?
It's my ADHD medicine.
Alright.
Hey, what do you have there?
ADHD.
No, that's just, it's our aspirin. It's aspirin.
Well, what made you think it was ADHD medicine?
Told me.
You told you it was ADHD medicine. Did you take it?
Yeah.
You took it. All right, you guys are gonna have to come with me. Come on.
FTMS West did not tolerate the use, consumption, ingestion, distribution, or possession of illegal drugs or lookalike drugs, marijuana, narcotics, controlled substances, alcoholic beverages, or intoxicants of any kind, as well as drug apparatus or paraphernalia. Using, selling, possessing, distributing, or being under the influence of any of the substances listed by any student while on school property or at notification of civil authority.
Any substance that has the ability to alter one's state of mind or any cause injury to anyone's self and is suspected of being used in a concerning manner may be in violence of this policy. Withhold of information about students' possession or transmitting drugs, alcohol, paraphernalia, and look like is a violation of this code.
What is over-the-counter medication and how can I bring it to the clinic or at school?
Over-counter medication is medication that you buy at the drugstore or like a Myers or anywhere that you can just pull it off the shelf and then run through the cashier line and buy it that way. In order to bring it to school, you have to fill out a medication sheet that your parents will sign, and then we will keep that medicine in the clinic for you when you need it. And that policy is in your handbook on page 7.
What about prescription? How do you bring that to school and give me some examples?
As far as prescription medications, it's pretty much the same thing. We have you fill out a medicine sheet or bring one in from mom and dad that we have. We'll supply it for you, and then we will keep it also locked up in the cabinet, and then we will give it. Prescription medication is a little different because it's timed that you have it at certain times of the day.
Am I allowed to carry on me throughout the school day any over-the-counter medicine?
No medicine should be carried unless we have a note from the doctor stating that you can carry it. And that usually is only for inhalers. All oral medication we do keep in the clinic.
What about prescription? Am I allowed to carry that?
No, you're not allowed to carry any prescription medicine unless it's an inhaler, which an inhaler does require a prescription.
All right, as we saw earlier, one student took this eraser, and this is an eraser, and gave it to another student. But it looks like a pill. And what did you tell him it was?
ADHD medicine.
Which is a prescription drug, just like the nurse talked about. What did you think it was?
ADHD.
You thought it was ADHD medicine, and you took it, right? According to the Code of Conduct, if you have a look-alike, whether it's aspirin, or whether it's an eraser tip, and you believe that it's what they talked about, an ADHD medicine, a pain medicine, whatever kind of medicine you think it is, whatever you think it will do to you, once you take possession of it, we treat it like whatever it is you're talking about. So even if it's an eraser tip, once you both agree that it's ADHD medicine, in terms of consequences, it becomes ADHD medicine, and according to the Code of Conduct, we're going to have to expel you for it.
Can I give him my over-the-counter drug?
Like aspirin or ibuprofen?
Yeah, like that.
Like aspirin or ibuprofen? Actually, no. Because of what the nurse talked about, you cannot give another student an over-the-counter drug. As an adult in the workplace, you'll follow whatever workplace policies you have. But here at school, if you have ibuprofen, it needs to be turned into the nurse. If you want ibuprofen, your family should have already given it to the nurse and you can go and get it. But if you give him ibuprofen, then you're in violation of the drug policy.
What about if you have an inhaler?
All right. If you have an inhaler and you want to give it to somebody else because you know they use an inhaler too, there are a couple of problems with that. One, it's the same problem as an over-the-counter drug. You're not supposed to distribute it to one another. The second problem is this: if you're on 10 units of whatever the inhaler takes, and you're on 20 units of whatever the inhaler takes, if you give him your inhaler and the dose is wrong, not to put too fine a point on it, but you could kill him. If it's double the dosage, you could actually hurt him really badly, especially when it comes to inhaler, because that medicine is very specific.
Okay, what about if we have like the same prescription for a medicine?
Okay, and that it's the same dosing issue, and it's a violation of what the nurse talked about earlier. You know, if you're on 10 units of headache medicine, okay, or prescription headache medicine, and you're on the same headache medicine, and you guys know it because you've talked about it, you saw each other in the doctor's waiting room, however you know that you're on the same medicine. If you give him that medicine and the dose is wrong, same issue, you could make him sick, you could hurt him, whatever, but it's also a violation of what the nurse talked about in terms of prescription drugs are handled through the clinic.
We're going to talk about in this section, illegal substances. So far we've talked about over-the-counter medications and also prescription drugs. But a lot of times when we think about drugs, we think about illegal substances such as marijuana. Clearly, having marijuana is illegal for any individual to have, a student or staff member or an adult in general in the state of Indiana. As a result of that, if any student were to be carrying any product that is marijuana or look like to marijuana, represented as it, or any other type of illegal drug, which there are many different ones, then they would be subject to very severe consequences, which would be a suspension and request for expulsion.
And also typically, if according to our training or the law enforcement officers that we bring into the situations training, if it's verified that it is an illegal substance, typically the students will be arrested. So their families won't even be able to come here to pick them up. They'll have to go and pick them up after they've been processed at the Marion County Juvenile Detention Center.
So as a result of those type of actions, you'd have what we call school-based consequences, which include the suspension and expulsion, but you'd also have legal consequences, which include going to the juvenile system, as Mr. Hicks talked about, and having court dates, probation, and those types of things. And those would be on your record for a period of time, as well as it very much harm your reputation and the way people perceive you in the school and also in the community.
Are you allowed to search my locker and my property at any time?
Very good question, Delaney. As a part of the school handbook and state statute, which is state law, school officials do have the right to search your locker at any point in time. We also may search any property that's on the premises, meaning if you bring your backpack into the school campus, we may search that. Typically, we will not search your locker or the contents of your locker unless we have some reason to. However, if we have one of our police officers here with his trained dog, and they do a locker search, and the dog finds a bank of lockers that appears to have a concerning odor in it, then we may search your locker, because that dog is trained very specifically to tell us that there may be something in it. And so we would open your locker and check your locker and the contents. But we will call your parents also and let them know that that occurred. And there's two reasons we do it. One, to ensure that if there are any harmful items there, that they are removed. But secondly, to clear your name to make sure that people can't say that you do have something. As far as articles of clothing, if it gets more involved, we will do pat-down searches of students, including checking their pockets and so forth. But we do that in the presence of another adult so that the student is as comfortable as possible, because it's not a desirable situation for anybody to be in.